I'm trying to give an update for the trip which I had yesterday, and honestly speaking, the trip was nice. I just traveled very well. I arrived in Arusha. It was about 4 p.m. Yeah, it was about 4 p.m. But unluckily or unfortunately, I couldn't get many of the footage along the journey, and this is because I just had my smartphone. I didn't have a GoPro. If I had a GoPro, I could just mount on my helmet, and then we could have a lot of footage along the trip. So far so good. The bike which I used for yesterday is just behind me right now, and I'm gonna share the review how the trip was and how it went. So first of all, I started the journey. It was very early in the morning. It was about 5 something like that, about 5 a.m. and I arrived in Arusha. It was super early, but even though I had just a small minor problem on the way, which was just tensioning, but I got it fixed, and then my trip progressed. So far so good. I think I'm gonna break down the trip, how it was in different segments, so you guys can see and you can share in the future. You can see how these small bikes can handle a long distance trip on a single go. So we'll see how the trip was. So for the record, this is the motorcycle which I used for the trip yesterday, and as you guys you can see here. So first of all, the trip which I covered yesterday was about 693 kilometers, close to 700 kilometers, which I covered yesterday. And I covered this one for the single go. And how the trip was started, I just had two stops. The first stop was a brake stop. The second stop was a fixing stop. So the fixing stop was because of the chain tensioning. So far the trip, how it is, it went well, but I reached a point whereby I think the chain was too loose, and I had to stop, whereby I had to tension well to fix the tension of the chain so that it can have a nicer grip and tension as well. So I'm gonna break this trip, I can say, on only three segments. The first one is the fuel use, and then the second one is the motorcycle handling capacity. The third one is braking. Yeah, I think those are the great ones. So the first one is about the fuel consumption. So far right now, if you can see this motorcycle, you can realize, okay, let me just turn it on. Okay, all right. So I had about 3 refills yesterday. The first refill was from Dar es Salaam, whereby I refilled about 12.6 liters. And then on the way I added 9 liters. And then when I arrived in Arusha town, I added another, was about 9 liters again. So I came to realize that this motorcycle is efficient, but all the way, I mean, I can say the whole trip which I had yesterday, I was riding at a full throttle. That's what I was doing yesterday. And that's what I think, it caused a lot of fuel consumptions. And apart from that, along on the way, the speedometer stopped working. So I came to realize it's just a small minor problem, which I think I will fix later, or I will fix it before going back. So this one is not functional anymore. I think it has loosened. No, if not from this side, it might have been loosened from this top side, which is just right there. So before going back, I think I will try to figure out, and then I will see how I can fix that one. And then the other one I'm gonna share is about the braking. So far so good. A long distance trip like this one doesn't require a lot of braking because it's just an open road. It's just you and the motorcycle just going the speed which you think is safe for you. And for the speed which I had yesterday, I can say the maximum was about 90 kilometers per hour. That was the maximum one which I had for yesterday. And apart from that, I can say the speed was affected by the weather condition a little bit. So this is how it does. From Dar es Salaam to when you are coming a long way, Tanga up to Kilimanjaro, which is the beginning part of the region, the terrain is different. So from Dar es Salaam coming to Tanga, it was like a slope area going downhill a little bit, but from Tanga coming to Kilimanjaro, it was starting getting hill a little bit, and then from Kilimanjaro coming to Arusha, it was a little bit just almost going slow. So I couldn't use a lot of brake by yesterday, but that's how the trip was. And for the braking efficiency, so far so good. This motorcycle it just have 2 wheels, as you can see, but the braking efficiency was affected a little bit by the heat of the tires. So by having a long trip like that one, the tires become hot, so the traction loosen a little bit. So if we want to stop, the stopping distance increase compared to when those tires are not so much hot. So that's what I experienced by yesterday. Apart from that is I can say it's a general trip how it was. The bike handled very well, but there is a point whereby the motorcycle couldn't even handle 80 kilometers per hour, and that's what I came to realize. So if you can see, you guys, this motorcycle is air cooled, and the faster you go, the more the efficient of the cooling. But that also depends with the time you are riding the motorcycle. Riding the motorcycle when it is noon and it is hot, so the atmospheric condition or the atmospheric pressure, it affects the cooling efficiency of the motorcycle. Unlike whereby when I started the motorcycle, it was performing well, but I came to the point whereby I couldn't even hit over 80 kilometers per hour. That's what I came to realize. But the motorcycle handled very well. The trip was amazing. And the other aspect which I think I'm going to share is about the terrain, the whole terrain, or the whole trip terrain from Dar es Salaam up to the point where I am. So currently I'm in Monduli, Arusha. That's where it was my destination, and that's where I was coming. And if you remember, you guys, I shared this one. I said I took the decision to take this motorcycle, even though I have 2 of them. I have this one, and I have the small one, the big one at home. But the big one, it has a bigger sprocket on the rear, so it couldn't handle that much well, especially on the plain areas. But on the hill areas, it works very great because of the size of the sprocket. So, but for this one, the gear ratio between the front sprocket and the rear sprocket is equivalent. So that's why it handled very well. So the other picture I think I'm gonna share, and I think I'm gonna try to demonstrate a little bit, even though I know it will be hard, and then we'll see how it went well. All right. So the other thing which I'm gonna share with you guys is about how the train was. So from Dar es Salaam coming along Tanga, it's a bit slopey, or it's kind of like it's almost plain areas, plain up to Tanga areas. From Tanga, when I'm coming towards Kilimanjaro, that's where it was starting getting hill a little bit up to the beginning parts of Kilimanjaro region, and that's where I think more fuel was used. The motorcycle reached the point of too much heat, so the performance dropped a little bit, and I think I could measure the performance in 2 ways. The first one is the maximum speed which I was hitting about, and the second one is through the engine power which you can feel when you are riding. So I think that's where I think that's when you can just spot that there was a little bit decrease in the power. But also I came to realize that there is a little bit increase in fuel consumption. So that was the experience from Dar es Salaam to Tanga, and from Tanga to the area pass of Kilimanjaro. So from after driving about 90 kilometers, after being in Kilimanjaro region, it was starting getting a little bit plainy. And from that place is called Mwanga Kilimanjaro. And then from Mwanga, when I was out of Mwanga coming to Moshi, and that's why it was getting a little bit hilly. After reaching Arusha, that's when it was getting slope again. So from there, that's when I can see there was little bit fuel consumption increase because of the terrain, some hilly areas and some of the steep areas. But also, as I said before, this motorcycle is a small one. It's just a 150cc, so it is highly affected by the cooling factors. So the faster you ride it, the more the efficient. But when you are riding it in the noon time, the air is already hot, so the efficiency of the cooling dropped a little bit. But the motorcycle handled very well. Except where I arrived in Mwanga Kilimanjaro, it was about 2 p.m. something like that, and then the chain tension was too loose to the extent I couldn't hit even 40 kilometers per hour. So if you remember, I had a spare spanner with me. I just parked the motorcycle alongside in the safe place. I had to tension well to fix the chain tensioner, and then I got back on the road again. But from there, I came around after hitting Arusha, it was getting a little bit cooler or colder compared to compared to Tanga or the other parts of Kilimanjaro. So Arusha region is found on the upper sea level compared to Dar es Salaam. So the air here is a little bit cold compared to Dar es Salaam. So the cooling efficiency, I think, went back, and I was experiencing the increase in power to the motorcycle when I was riding, and the speed as well. So that was the experience of the terrain, the braking, fuel consumption used. But the other thing which I can share with you guys is about safety concern about my gear which I had before. So when I was coming for this ride, I had this helmet for protection, and if you can see this helmet, honestly speaking, guys, it's useful. It's so strong, so rigid, to the extent I think it worked great. And I can say that due to the two factors. The first one is wind. So this motorcycle, it doesn't have big visor here for wind protection. It's just this one is a small one. So it doesn't help so much with the protection with the wind speed. But this helmet, guys, I think it worked great. And with me, I had this helmet, and I had a big coat which protected me from wind. I had a double trousers, but also I had a big boot for ridings. You've seen the beginning of the video. So I had those shoes, so the protection for me was great. But the other thing which was which I can say was a bad experience yesterday was riding on the way. So the personal experience, apart from the helmet which I had yesterday, I can say in two ways. The first one, the protection was great. The helmet worked very well, and alongside there was a lot of bugs and insects hitting on the helmet. And I think if I didn't have the helmet with me, I think it couldn't be such a good experience. So if you're planning a long distance trip, make sure you have safety gears, you are well protected before starting the trip. Make sure the motorcycle is well serviced, and have some cash as a spare on the way. If you have some skills on how to fix the motorcycle, or not all, but part of it, make sure you have some spanners and or working tools, which I think will be useful if you face any problem in a situation whereby you can't get it, or you can't have a mechanic in those areas. So that was the experience with the motorcycle itself and the protection gear which I had. Apart from that, I think I can share how my body was feeling when I was riding this motorcycle. So far so good. This motorcycle is small, the engine is small, it has a one piston, and the way it is designed, you can experience some vibration, and that is just because with the factor. For the first one is this one. Let me show you guys so you guys can see. So if I come along this motorcycle here, you will see these handle grips are plastic. They are rubber. They are rubber ones. They are rubber ones. And the footrests are made from rubber. So they absorb a lot of vibration from the engine to my legs or wherever I was stepping. But also the shoes which I had yesterday had a gritty sole. So I think the way to get. But still, you get a lot of vibration from these handlebars. And over time, the experience which I had was a numbness on my hands. So I came to the point whereby it was too numb, but still I kept going, and the motorcycle handling was well. So apart from that numbness on my hands, I was feeling numb at some point in both hands. I was feeling some numb, but still I managed to have a safe ride until I arrived where I was coming. And I can say that one because, so this is what happened. Before starting the journey, I prepared everything needed for this trip. And unfortunately, I came to realize that I misplaced the gloves, and it was the time for me to leave. So I had no option. It was not a great time whereby I think I can get spare gloves somewhere. So on my hands, I had no protection at all. So it was just well covered on the head, nice coat, trouser, and shoes as well. But I didn't have protection on my hands. Apart from that, the seat is okay. And I got numbness on my hands and the vibration in my butt a little bit. But I think it's okay because that's how the trip was. So the seat is cushionable. It has some leather, but I think it's working great. But I couldn't blame so much because of the nature of the type of the motorcycle. So that was all for today's, guys. I hope you enjoyed the trip with me. I think I will have more videos on the coming trips, but I think maybe in the future days I will have a GoPro whereby you can have almost the whole trip experience together. Unlike this one whereby I just shared some parts of the road. And if we come to realize that I was just going slow speed whereby I can have a small piece of footage so you guys can see how the trip was. So that's all for today's, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this trip together even though you are at a distance. And I can say thank you, guys. The trip was safe. I think maybe I will share more content on the way back to Dar es Salaam, from Arusha to Dar es Salaam. But also, I think I will add the extra video for the price breakdown of the fuel used and the distance covered, so guys you can see how much fuel I used for each kilometer. Thank you guys for watching. I hope to see you on the next one. Bye.